What's up, friends? Welcome back to another weekly episode of Trades Talk. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm excited for the conversation. We've got a fellow podcaster in the booth today, Eric Triplett with the Pawn Digger podcast. Eric, welcome to the show.
Hey. Awesome to be here.
Well, it's awesome to have you. I always enjoy having fellow podcasters on because we know the cadence and know kind of the challenge sometimes it is when you're interviewing a guest who maybe isn't as comfortable on the mic as maybe you guys that do it every day.
Yeah. Don't you hate it when they don't have the audio's terrible and like your mic's so crisp and theirs is all jacked and their lighting's all messed up? It's always a mess. Yeah.
I was like, all right, let's do some coaching here right off the bat, get you tuned in.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the one thing, but you know, overall it's I think we're used to Zoom videos at this point. Everyone's been on screen most of the time in the last 5 years since COVID. We kind of got thrust into that virtual world, if you will. So Eric, you got a podcast. I want to start there. Tell me a little bit about your podcast, when you started it, why you do a podcast. I mean, it's obviously an investment of time. You know, what's the story behind Pawn Digger, man?
So the podcast is interesting. I started it about 7 years ago, and this is maybe a cool story for your audience. So my son is about 19 at the time, and he's on a job site with me, which is unbelievable. If any contractor can work with their son at that level on a job site together, it's amazing, right? These are that's the things that you remember on your deathbed, right? So
yeah,
he's
absolutely.
got an ear. Yeah, he's got an earbud in his ear, and he's on the other side of this pond. We're like kind of, finalizing things to get the waterfall done and everything. And he's over there, and I'm like, he's 19. He's probably gonna go do something else one day. He's not gonna be doing ponds his whole life. And so I reached out and I was like, hey kid, what's up? What are you jamming? He's like, what? I'm like, what are you jamming? He's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, is it the new Kendrick Lamar? I mean, like, what's listening to, bro? He's like, oh, I'm listening to a podcast. And I'm like, a what? He's like, a podcast. And I'm like, okay, like, what is that? He's like, they're like interviews and like people are talking and they record it and they put it out in the RSS feed. I'm like, what the? And so I was like, well, what's it about? He's like, oh, it's on physics. And I'm like, what?
What?
My son's listening to a podcast on physics. And so, but then I just went down a rabbit hole. I was like, now, I kind of struck out, but I bunted and got on base. And now we're talking about podcasting. I wanted to talk about what music he's listening to, but now we're talking about this. So, I stole second base and now we're talking and he's like, you should listen to this. And, I was like, I'm starting a podcast when I get home. I'm going to do it because I've always been information based for my business. I always want to be stand out as an expert in my field. And a lot of contractors think, well, I don't want to start a podcast because how's that going to get me business in my backyard? But it gets you business because you show up as a professional, you show up as a leader in your industry, and I think that's been incredibly helpful for me over the years.
Yeah, I completely agree with that take. I mean, our exposure to other people outside of our circle and outside of our sphere of influence is massive because we're interviewing people all over the place every week and we're getting different inputs and perspectives brought into our sphere of influence. So for me, podcasting is I get to share the journey of K&D Landscaping and what we're trying to do, trying to grow $1 billion company and take it public. I mean, that's not something that, you hear every day. And then I get to learn from all these amazing people that come on the show, like yourself. Yeah. And we're together, we're like building out this whole new realm and movement within the landscape industry that 10 years ago, I don't think really existed. And here we are. There's a ton of great podcasts like you, Naylor, Payjack, so many others that are sharing great information on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So,
it's cool because like you're about your journey, which is audacious as fuck. Can I cuss on here or what?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Dude, that's audacious as fuck, dude. Like, congratulations. I love it, man. That's what I love about you. You're bold, courageous, and people want to know that about you. And when you show that, I think that resonates really well with people. But people need someone like you to believe in. They need to see you making those wins and go like, he's not too much different than me. I mean, he rides a mountain bike like I do. I want to do that too, right? So, I mean, I've been documenting my journey for 7 years on a podcast, and what's been really interesting for me is like, I started out like shoestring, bro, just on my phone. I'm just like recording into the phone and like I pushed it out into the world, like, and then,
Which can I say is how
yeah,
incredible the fact that we can do that. That's actually
it's
pretty cool.
unbelievable,
Like
dude.
there's no barrier to access. It's just you're there. You're on. It's awesome.
Yeah. People are like, no, I gotta have I gotta get the mic, I gotta get the thing, I gotta get the fucking the roadcaster. Like, dude, just
Let's do
press
it.
go, bulldoze through it
Yeah.
and get it figured out. But I started out as only pond information on there, and it's evolved. I mean, like, I'm evolving as a person, so the podcast evolved. But it was really cool for me because I was trying to scale and grow my business. You get the same questions all the time, right? How do I control algae in a pond? Hey, I just moved into this house. It's got a koi pond. I don't know what to do. So I just rip a podcast on it. And then I talk to someone like, hey, let me send you this podcast. It's 1 hour. It's in depth. It talks you through everything. You probably don't have time to talk for an hour on the phone, right, Mrs. Johnson? Like, I don't want to talk for an hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I'm like,
yeah.
yeah. So let me text you this. And so not only has it saved me time, it makes me look like an expert in my field. And, then I just document my whole journey. It's awesome.
You know what? That is such a great idea, is recording podcasts for your customers on questions you get all the time. I mean, why not? Because you're going to get that question and you're going to explain it.
Yeah, that's what they do with videos. I mean, think about Gary Vaynerchuk. He's like Ask Gary V, right? So, he's answering questions all the time, but at scale, you can share that information when you do the show. But I did a show on YouTube for a while, and sharing information has always been a big part of my journey. Like 12 years ago, we were putting out tutorials on YouTube on how to build ponds. But I did a show series. I did like maybe 40 or 50 videos. It was Ask the Pond Digger. And so all these questions that would come through on the phone through my staff or through social or through YouTube, I would just write them down and I'd do 2 or 3 at a time. Ask the Pond Digger. Hey, I had a question from Justin and he wants to know what's going on here. And so now they're like, oh, he said my name. Right. So it was cool. It was a cool It was cool. And so now I try and do that with podcasting as well.
So Gary Vaynerchuk, I saw him on your Instagram at some point this year. Did you get to spend some time with him or what?
Yeah, dude. I actually, he's on my podcast and his dad's on my podcast. You probably didn't know that,
cool.
Right? So he was at an event, a buddy of mine. It's a real long story, but my buddy is in New Jersey and he's coming up in the business. I'm like, bro, are you checking out Gary Vaynerchuk? He's like, Gary, what? I'm like, dude, get to know Gary Vaynerchuk. You will work for him one day. I swear to God, figure out who he is. And so anyways, he calls me up one day and he's like, hey, bro, I just want to let you know someone named Sasha Vaynerchuk called the office and one of my sales guys is at his house today. I'm like, what? How come you're not there? So
dude,
now he has, yeah, dude. So I was like, I told you, So anyways, he's got a relationship with Sasha. And so he's like, let's do this pond and like, let's bring Gary out and I'll bring some contractors. And so he's like, you're coming, right? I'm like, of course, bro, I'll be there. So Gary came out to hang out with us once. And it was kind of cool because Gary's like, well, what's your ask? What do you want from me? Like, how can I help? I want to provide value. And I told him, I was like, Brian, just ask him to do, Q&A with us. Get him to come out. We got 20 contractors. Ask him for Q&A. And he's like, okay. So talk about audacious, right? I want to be clear on this. There's drones flying, like 3 or 4 drones in the air trying to get this big pond. And as these camera guys are all here. And I had a videographer with me. And when Gary came out, it was like, we got positioned. So the house wasn't in the camera and all this stuff. And right before we started, I was like, hey, Gary, you mind if I mic you up? Because everyone kind of moved in and they thought the audio from their cameras or whatever would work. And I was like, hey, do you mind if I mic you up? He's like, yeah, no problem. So I went over there, mic'd him up straight to my phone. And then we just rocked. And then I put it out on the podcast. It's sick. It's so sick.
Dude, that
specifically
is so sick.
For pond guys.
Yeah. Like I saw the pond you guys were building. It's and when guys listening or watching this, you're thinking a pond, you're thinking like this little pond, like a couple 100 square feet. Like you guys are building like full on pond. Like this is like almost like a lake. In some of these things that you guys are building. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was amazing. I think that thing was like 200 by 100 or something like that. Yeah. It's like a big horse arena, like a giant horse arena is a pond, and then a waterfalls and all this stuff. So yeah, but I also got Sasha. So I was supposed to interview Sasha a year and a half ago at an
Okay.
event because my buddy was already like, building a relationship with him. And I had him lined up to be on my show. And I took a traveling podcast. I was there. Right. And then he got tired. He's like, I'm too tired. I don't want to do it. And then I lost my opportunity. I was so mad. And so when I got out to the job site, we were there for a week and a half. And like every day, Sasha would come out in the morning and I was waiting for my chance. And there was one moment where he would come out and he was like, Eric, he'd bring me over. He's like, I don't know about this rock. I'm like, I'll change it. What do you want, Sasha? And so we went through that whole thing. Right.
Yep.
And then like a day or so later, he comes up to me and I'm just standing there looking at things. And he comes up, he's standing right next to me. He's just like standing there. And he's like, man, if I had 12 more guys just like you, this pond would be done already. And I was like, okay. And then so the next day he came out, it was like kind of, we were getting close to what we could do. And it was kind of like tailoring out. And I've always had my mic in my pocket. Right.
Yeah.
And then he was standing next to me and I'm like, Sasha, you mind if I just mic you up? We talk for a couple minutes about your pond. He's like, let's go for it, Eric. Cause I had an appointment to have him on the podcast the very next day, but I was not going to audacious, bro. Was not going to miss my chance. So
No,
I was
you
like,
got to be there.
yeah. So I was like, I have this moment right now. I want to seize this moment. I'm going to try. And if I can get him on the podcast tomorrow, then great. If not, then this could be my little mini podcast with Sasha. So he's like, yeah, let's go for it. I mic'd him up. Boom. We talked for 15, 20 minutes. And then that was it. So now I got each of them on the show. It was amazing, and
Congrats. Yeah.
that's good. Podcasting, like document your journey.
Yeah, man.
So
Well,
awesome.
I think it's so cool because I got to watch that from my perspective, watching your Instagram and following along with you of seeing your, encounters with what I believe are some of the best futuristic minds in the business. And when I say business, I guess I just mean like in business, period. And Gary Vee being one of those who you listen to him talk about AI, you listen to talk about social media,
Uh-huh.
and you go back 5-10 years and look at and listen to what he was saying and then see what happened. I mean, this guy, he's not batting 1,000, no one is, but he's batting like high 700-800s on things. Like he is 75% of the time on point with things that are so outlandish that people write him off. And they're just like, no way. So the chance for you to get in the same room with him and talk with him and have that moment, that probably was a little bit of a mind shift for you, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
Are you thinking different after talking with them?
Yeah, for sure. I've followed Gary for a long time. I'm a big fan of him, and sometimes I don't want to say I get bored, but sometimes that same message comes across, but I'll open it up and listen. But every now and then he just like bitch slaps me with something that really rocks me. And I'm like, okay, Gary still has it, he still has me by the, the neck, like, hey, let's go. And, it's interesting because AI has been, people are so afraid of it and so nervous and so resistant, And I just think about Gary saying like they were resistant of the internet, they were resistant of cell phones. And now you have like your 9-year-old daughter has, you know what I mean? Like but everyone resistant to that. So, meeting you at Landscape Technology Conference was really cool for me, hearing about disruptors and hearing about, your journey. But when I sat down to talk to you, we talked primarily about AI, and that was, I don't know, months ago, right?
6 months.
I was already,
it was July.
I was already using AI, but like, I definitely ramped it up a little bit, through listening to you and be like, cause I was with Gary like in the summertime in August.
Yep.
July,
right.
August. Yeah. I went straight there. So like, then I'm here. And then, so I'm like, I'm leaning into AI more and more. It's crazy because, you think about an e-bike, like I'm working out right now on my e-bike. And so I go hard in the mountains for like an hour and I'm sweaty. And then, you ride by another guy. He's like, oh, you cheater. He's on his analog bike. And I'm like, bro, you're not even living. You're not even living. No. I just got a badass workout. And so, I think AI is the same thing. And so the more I lean into it, I'm like, am I going too hard? Am I not going hard enough? What would Justin White do?
You just got to go all in, dude. Fire the cannonballs, AI is an interesting conversation that I just had with another guest on the show. talking Scott with Hey Flora, and we were talking about AI, and he's building this AI operating system, explaining to me his vision of a future state where a landscaper runs into a challenge on the job site, hits their glasses or taps their watch and is like, hey, what should I do here? And this, intelligence actually shares down with them, hey, here's what the standard is at ABC company that we work at. Here's how we put in base rock and sand under pavers. We, all right, is it pedestrian? Is it vehicle? And all these answers are available in a moment's notice from this all-knowing AI agent, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, it sounds great, right? But I think a lot of people are struggling with getting AI implemented to where it shows a positive improvement on a financial metric. They can point to and say, our wages are up and our, profit is up, and our costs to our clients or our pricing to our clients has not gone up. We're improving efficiencies, or we're reducing our spend in operational expense on fuel because we've used AI to better route our maintenance crews. I don't hear a lot of those stories coming out yet about AI. And that's where I think a lot of this resistance is showing up, is people aren't able to see this immediate return. But I think it's the same thing with the internet. Like the first 5 to 10 years, people are figuring it out. And then all of a sudden, we got YouTube and Amazon drop shipping and all these ways to make money. Awesome. But those who embrace the AI future, I think, are going to have the best success at actually monetizing it once it becomes an integral part of our businesses in the next few years.
I already feel like I'm behind, and I know I'm in front of a lot of my peers in a lot of my industry. I feel like I'm in front of a lot, but then I talk to someone like you or Mark Bradley or, whatever. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so far behind the 8 ball. I got to get moving. Right. So, that's just such an interesting twist.
Yeah. I think it's like it's a mindset, right? Where you feel like you're behind. And I feel like that in a lot of areas, and it's something that probably has some validity to it, but there's also the take where you're paying attention versus others who are just saying, this is bullshit, it's never going to take off, so I'm not even going to pay attention. You're like, I know it's going to be a big thing. I'm watching these guys. And if anything, you can learn from some of the mistakes that the early adopters make. And then, all right, I'm going to learn from this, learn from that, and then pivot with that information and maybe even accelerate faster, right, than some of the peers. So I don't know. I don't think there's any perfect way to go about it. We're definitely all in. Like I've got a full-time employee, team member, Sean. His full-time job is helping us integrate technology at the highest level and fast as possible.
I want to share a story with you. I've seen Company Cam coming up, for, I don't know, a year or two, whatever. And I looked at it and just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Right. Then they came up with walkthrough AI, and I was like, oh, now I'm really paying attention. Right. Yeah. So I downloaded it. I set up appointment. I got it integrated. I have Company Cam now. And so I'll do a pond inspection. I'll go to an inspection and, I'll tell them everything they want to know and everything they don't want to know about the pond, And so, but I used to have to take pictures, take notes, and then I'd have to go back to the office and then I'd give it to my people. And then 3 days later, they'd have something written up and they'd have to put the pictures in and they send it to the people. Bro, the new AI walkthrough is unbelievable. So I literally walked through it. You could talk for 15 minutes. This is not an ad for Company Cam. I don't even. Yeah. But you can talk for 15 minutes and you can take a picture. So you can walk around the whole property, boom, take a picture of this and say, this is this. I want to have this, this, and this done. You walk over here and it's just like recording your voice. You take another picture of this and say, we need another pallet of block here or whatever. You walk around the property and you take pictures. And so I'm walking around this property and saying, this is a problem. This is a problem. This is my recommendations, all this stuff, right? And while I do that and I press stop, it's already processing it, right? It's making a report for me right there. While I'm fucking standing there, bro. I'm talking to a lady after I was like, I need a little silence. I'm just going to take some notes. Is it okay if I just have a little bit of quiet? They're like, yeah, no problem, Eric. I'll get you a coffee. I go through the whole thing. And then when I'm finished, I'm talking to them. She's like, well, when will I get the report? I'm like, oh, I'm going to give it to you right now. And I pull it up. Dude, the PDFs are lined up. the bullet points of my suggestions and recommendations are already stacked under every picture. It looks so professional. It's unbelievable. And then in one of my peer groups, I posted that link to it.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I do these memes like, hey, you want $4,500 to this? I can get the other contractor do it for $1,000. It's the same as the same, right? And then it's like got Sydney Sweeney like going like, no, it's not the same, right? So I started this conversation and they were like, well, that is a lot and all this stuff. And I was like, here's the report I made for them. And I sent over the report and everyone's like, oh my God, like there's 500 contractors in this group. And they're like, holy cow, how long did it take to make that report? This report's insane. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. No one in the industry makes reports like this. Dude, I did it on the phone.
Yeah.
And I gave it to the lady right then, and she gave me $1,000.
Fuck yeah. You
And I got in my truck.
One call close.
Dude, unbelievable. And so, but now it's the thing is, I'm looking in the script. I'm like, no one understands this technology, and I haven't opened that conversation with them yet. But I will. But I'm ahead of these guys, but I'm behind Justin. I'm behind Mark Bradley. I got to get on it,
Well, I mean, yes and no. Like, I think there's some things like that you're doing that we are trying to do at scale. And the hardest thing is, and this is something that all companies struggle with. And the bigger you get, the harder it is to accomplish, where you do that thing, but you do it across 10 salespeople. And to get 10 people to use a product really well all at once is really hard versus like, I'm down. I'll go out there and use a product and make it work. But then you have 2 or 3 salespeople who are like, no, I didn't do it today. I felt like it wasn't the right time or whatever.
Yeah.
So you've got to push your team when you have a lot of people. But that's a great story of how using technology and the quality of voice to reports is like entering things in on a keyboard or texting, entering in by typing into your phone is going away. Everything's just going to be voice, and then boom, final product.
Yeah. Well, I love how you said, like, I'm aware at least, I don't have my head in the sand. Like, oh, I don't want this, So I'm very aware. So when I saw that come up, I was like, ooh, this could mean something to me. Right. And so me being aware of it, I was like, I'm going to snatch this up and go for it. So I love that. I think we need to be aware of these things. I came up here to the studio and I've been waiting for the call all day, and I was like, cool. I got in here 15 minutes early, and after this, I'm going to record Pick Your Battles podcast.
Oh,
I think
nice.
I think it's an important topic to talk about picking your battles, urgent versus important versus not urgent versus not important, right? And you have to pick your battles of your day. We only have so many hours, right? And I just voice commanded in a ChatGPT. I mean, I talked to it for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was just like, pick your battles. This is the vibe I'm looking for. I want to include ponds. I want to include marriage and relationship. This is a story that I want to talk about, and then I'm like, oh yeah. And then I want to talk about this. And so I just I brain dump for 10 minutes. I was like, just, can you take my brain dump and just make a framework so I don't lose track and, have people think I'm nuts,
Yeah, it keeps us because it's easy to go off track.
Yeah. And so, dude, I mean, it's here's my framework, like the framework is here. You start here, and they're like, put this to there and this to there and close with this. And I'm like, oh, cool. Okay. And then I could still be myself and vibe, but I have that framework.
Dude, it happens in seconds. And I love that ability to brain dump. I just did that. I'm doing a presentation tomorrow in LA for a big, landscape award that we're entered in.
Is that the Futurescape show?
Yes, Futurescapes USA.
Yeah, I'll meet you out there. I'm gonna head out there. Yeah,
fuck yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be out there. And but we're trying to do this presentation. It's like 15 minutes of why this project deserves to win and everything. And we're brain dumping into the ChatGPT, and it's giving me back this really nice, not a script, right? But like you said, it's like open with this, hit on these 3 bullet points.
Yeah.
Close with this.
Yeah.
I can remember 4 things. And I like this analogy. It ties back to mountain biking, right? It's like, I'm not a big fire road or road biker. Like, I want to get off and ride in the woods with the trees. Yeah. But I also like to have a little bit of a single track, a little bit of a trail to keep me on the guidelines, but I like kind of finding my
Yeah.
own lines and doing little hits.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what this is like we got a little bit of a line, but we can go and hit a little hip. You can do a little tree hit. You can do all
Yep.
these little things, still be yourself. But it's a bit of a guide of like, all right, this is where we're going to take the show
Yeah.
or the talk.
It just put some rails. I mean, dude, you're audacious, you're aggressive, you're, like, it's fantastic, but you need a little bit of guardrails. So, because people they're like, I don't even know where he's going with this. He's so far off, but it's like the guardrails just go, okay, I get him. I
Yep.
mean, sometimes I'll go off the deep end, I'll go crazy, but that's sometimes just having the guardrails helps you send your message correctly to your team, to your friends, to your peer groups, to whatever you have.
But fuck, every once in a while you got to like kind of go off the deep end and just do a
Yeah,
little
you gotta
30-minute
go off the
rant
deep
and
end.
just let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you about your community. I think we were talking earlier about this idea of how do we learn faster from each other and how do you stay on the cutting edge of technology? And, you've created a community where you have people coming together to share ideas in the betterment of improving each other. Tell us a little bit how that started and what does it look like for you day to day?
I'm going to go back just a little bit because I make 57 this year, right? So I've been going to conferences and trade shows for 20 years.
Yeah.
Go to the bar, you meet the guys, you talk about what you're doing. What are you marketing right now? What's the mailer you're using this month?
Yep.
This is back in the day. You didn't have the internet when I was doing this stuff. So like we're learning and vibing together. So I've always been very peer oriented, getting with guys and learning stuff and sharing, collaborative. It's always been part of my being, who I am. So in 2019, I reinvented myself. I think I told you the story on a podcast. I'll just be brief. 2015, I had throat cancer. And so I shut down my construction division. I kept open service and repair and like warranties and manufacturing, retail. I kept that part of my business open, but for 2.5 years, I just had to get better. And so in 2019, my doctor's like, dude, you're looking good. Go take over the world again. And I'm like, okay. And so I had shut down my world-class construction company, right? Got all my guys their contractor's licenses, sent them on their own. I'm going to go die, right? I set that all up. And then 2019, they're like, hey, go at it again. I'm like, I don't have anybody. I have to reinvent a team. It takes so much work. What am I going to do? Well, I had to kind of reinvent myself. And I started sales training. I got in a group. I started training and I went in hard. I wasn't dabbling. I wasn't sitting on the sidelines to the front row, punching, kicking, fighting, spitting, bleeding. Like I want to learn.
Yeah.
And so I reinvented myself at that time. It's like I went into a cocoon and came out a different man. Wow. And so at that time, when I came back out, when I was like, this group is all I can learn from. I have to go somewhere else. And when I started to leave, a lot of contractors were going like, dude, where are you going? I don't know where you're going, where you're leaving or why you're leaving, but wherever you're going, that's where I want to be. And so many guys reached out to me, like they're like, you should start a coaching group. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't have time for that. But I am very fulfilled by helping people. Right. And so I started dabbling with coaching. And so, I don't know if you know the story, but you start with a partner and then you find out your core values don't align. And you're like, this is not going to work. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm not starting any more coaching groups. I'm done. But the demand, bro, like people were just like, I don't care where you're going, where you're studying. Can I just come to your house? Can I just call you? And so I started another coaching group. So it's called Train with Triplett. And because that's what I want to do. I want to train. I want to get better every day. Whether I'm on my mountain bike or I'm on a sales call or I'm learning AI, I want to get better every day. So Train with Triplett is what it is. And
That's
so,
awesome.
yeah, I have a free Facebook group, probably much like the disruptors. I have a free Facebook group. And then I have guys that are more action takers who want to go harder. And then I have a small entry to pay to be into the group where we do role plays every week. We have accountability calls every week. And I got a tight group of people. And yeah, so that's my day to day is I do want to develop that. I want to grow it. And I still want to run my construction company as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that combination of being someone who's a giver and someone who's a devout learner and wants to go out and learn more things at the same time, that I think is the recipe for success in the next, it's always been, but I think it's going to be more so in the next 10 years than ever. And if anyone ever feels like, well, I've learned everything there is to learn, so I'm just going to teach now, I think those people end up being some of the worst coaches out there. And,
Yeah.
like anything, there's good coaches, bad coaches. I think people who are actively in the ring, fighting the fight every day, dealing
Yes.
with payroll, building clients, relationships, and then sharing that with your group and your community, it's really the best way. And I think one of the only ways in 2025 and 2026 to run a community, because people who only run communities full time, that's all they do. All their focus
Mhm.
is monetizing that community and monetizing the group, rather than saying, hey, guess what I learned this week? Even though
Yeah.
you're like, I put in my community, the disruptors, right? It's like, I'm like, guys, what are you thinking about 2026 bonus structure for your team? Because we're struggling to come up with what our focus is, because we've gotten so good at certain metrics. It's almost like a layup for the team now. How do we create a bonus target that really gets people excited? That's something I'm struggling with. So, it's just because you start a community or you do coaching or train with Triplett, it doesn't mean that you figured it all out and now you're sharing it. It's more of like, hey, I figured some things out, but I'm learning every day and I'd love to share that with you guys.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I've been involved in a lot of coaching communities over the years. Like, I remember, this one guy, he retired, right? I retired 5 years ago. Like,
Yeah.
dude, you know how much has fucking changed in 5 years? You don't know shit anymore. You literally don't know anything, right? You might know a little bit of sales and a couple of things, but AI is coming onto the scene. The economy has changed. COVID changed everything. Like, there's no way you can coach someone that you retired 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me, and there could be some outliers, clearly, right? There are some
Oh, for sure.
anomalies, but for the most part, like, someone that you don't know who's huge and famous, like, they're not going to be able to coach you through it. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. You got to find people who are in that sweet spot, people who are still involved. I found there's like, I completely agree with what you said. People who have retired and are disconnected are like, they fall into that category. And then there's some
Uh,
who have a way of staying involved and staying connected. And usually that ends up because they're on advisory boards or some other paid position where they're a board member to a company with legit investors, and they have to stay very, very invested with that company or that industry.
yeah,
Um, that's where I've seen a little bit, but either way, man, like I said, there's going to be good and bad in every world, from landscapers to coaches to, people who cut your hair. I mean,
yeah.
there's always good and bad, but I
It's
wanted to,
interesting you
yeah,
mentioned the disconnect. One more
yeah,
thing on this, the
no,
disconnect
go
and things
ahead.
I train my group on, like, we're very niche and specialized in some of the businesses that we do. And like,
Yeah.
a lot of guys run out and do free estimates and they run around, and while some business models, that's really good for them, most of the contractors I talk to, that's not a good model for them. They show up, they get run around, they're not pre-qualified, and then they show up wanting to monetize their visit because they're not getting paid. And as soon as I can show them, like, they would pay you $500 just to walk the property and help them understand the process of it, and you can do a consultation and actually make a little bit of money. That contractor literally shows up to the job site different. He shows up more
Mhm.
creative,
Yeah.
more problem solving, and not just like trying to figure out how to like get them to sign a contract and make the money. Like, just so, like you said, if the coach is only trying to monetize their business and they never even broke $1 million in their company, and now they're trying to monetize you listening to me when I don't even know how to teach you how to do anything, that I see that all the time. It's nothing more frustrating than that.
Oh, totally. Well, and there's a
Yeah.
nugget you just dropped, right? Is like, what if you did start charging $500 for every visit? How much of an impact would that be? How much of a difference would that be when people call and ghost you on appointments, or they don't treat you with any value if you're just out there giving away free estimates? But
Hmm.
also, I mean, do you call it a $500 estimate, or do you have another name for it when you charge them for that?
We mentioned consultations and what have you, and a lot of times I'll share like budget ranges where this pond could land or this landscape project. This could be a $50,000 conversation or $20,000 conversation, depending on which way we go. They're like, cool, yeah, let's go. All right, now they're not afraid of that. So then we're like, okay, well, the next step is we do ask for a small retainer for us to come out and begin the design process. We'll bring
Nice.
samples, we'll lay things out, we'll create documents, while I'm standing there. We're going to do that. Like, you know, I create the value through AI or whatever we're going to do. And they're like, yeah, what day are you free? And now all of a sudden I'm out there and we're doing, that's how we do ours. And so my goal is to teach contractors that just the premise of that and how to do that. They think it's
Yeah.
impossible.
Yeah. And when you do that, you change your sales team from an expense to a profit center, or at least a revenue center. Maybe they're not making profit off those $500 consults, but it also, you mentioned it makes that salesperson, whether it's you or I or one of our team members, when they show up, hey, I need to provide value in this meeting. I need to give the client something that they say is worth maybe $1,000 or $2,000 for their $500, payment. And again, company cam, here you go. Like, you're able to provide that value where in the past it would have taken you 3-4 hours after that meeting to go and build out that report and send it. It's like, it's instant.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And it's a mindset shift. Like I'm doing this program called the Contractor Conspiracy Program. And it's because contractors have these conspiracies in their head and it's just so screwed up, right? I had the first woman who ever asked me to be her coach. And I was like, okay, I started talking to her about it. And this is really interesting, Justin. I think you can appreciate this. I'm trying to teach her how to charge for her consultations, right? She ran around town for free. She's got 2 little boys. Right? Yeah. She wants to be a mom, a good mom. She wants to help her husband with the business. She wants to sell stuff. She wants to go to the baseball games with the kids. And so we're talking to her and I was like, you got to charge her. She's like, there's just no way I can get away with this. I'm like, okay. She's like, maybe it's our community and where we're at. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I got to ask a serious question. And I'm like, this next job that you land, like you're going to go out and do a free estimate next week or whatever, right? If you don't get that job, are you going to make your mortgage payment? She's like, oh God, no, we're fine. And I was like, okay, so you don't need this to run your life. Like you're not going to lose your kids over this, right? She's like, no. I'm like, how far are you booked out? This is a summertime phone call, right?
Oh God. Yeah. I love where this is going.
She's like, we're booked out through the end of the year. And I'm like, okay. Then first of all, your prices are too low. You're understaffed and you have the opportunity to throw some calls away. Throw them away, even screw up. Just go, I need money to come to you. Like, I don't care. Throw them away and train with me. And I'll teach you how to talk to them. And now she gets like $2,000 just to walk into someone's house. You know what I mean? And they're still booked out and they're hitting 3 million. And it's like, dude, it's a game changer. And it's those moments like that because now she has more time with her kids. She's more confident. She shows up better. It's just, dude, it's a conspiracy theory in your head. You got to break it.
It's so true, man. And you're proving that out. And I love this example because so many people, especially in landscaping, have these preconceived notions about what can or will not work. And frankly, my parents had a lot of these, and I started asking my dad, hey, what if we did this? Oh, we can't. That's like, no one does that, and I'm like, well, what if we did that? He's like, you can't, the clients aren't going to allow us. I was like, well, let's just test it out. So, we did a lot of experimentation and we still do a lot of experiments and we trial things side by side. And we're like, hey, all right, what if we charge for an estimate? Or what if we, instead of saying, yeah, let's meet out and do an estimate, say, hey, our first step is a consultation. We'll come out and we'll walk you through this whole process. We'll come up with a budget range. We'll talk about all these things that most people are scared to talk about. And if all of that sounds good from both of us, we pre-qualify you and you want to move forward with us, then we'll talk about creating a price proposal for your design and build project. And when you frame things differently and at the same time you act with speed, where you're meeting with a person the next day or 2 days later, and then thanks to AI, you're giving them that estimate and that report or that consultation report the next day or that same day maybe. And then they say yes, and then you get the estimate and the design done in a couple of weeks instead of a couple of months. All of a sudden, you've created all this value in a period of like 2 weeks, where competition in most areas, it takes 2 weeks just to get them an estimate. Maybe it takes them longer. So we're trying to
maybe
add
get them
value.
To show up.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't even get them to show up or answer their phone. How funny is that? I don't get that. Come on, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what people are doing out there. It's like you're a landscape company. You say you want to grow, and then I ask clients about you, and you say, "Oh, yeah, they never answered their phone." I've given them a call multiple times.
Yeah.
So with that, do you feel like within the community you're able to share things that are like, we're talking about stuff that is somewhat, proprietary, but we're not talking about too much around like wages or salaries or commissions. Do you feel like when you're in that paid community, you can be extremely vulnerable with your team versus maybe just like out there on the regular internet?
Yeah, I'm extremely vulnerable with them. I mean, it's accountability call, and like when I talk to them, I've already told them, just like I told you when I had you on my podcast. I feel like I'm in purgatory between 1 and 3 million. Just like I'm just there. I feel like it's
Yeah.
purgatory. I tell them that, but 96% of contractors will never break 1 million. So all I can do is tell them the struggles that I'm facing now as a guy grinding it out, learning and changing with the times, and then sharing with them like I used to be you. I used to be exactly in your shoes, but now I'm a little bit farther you. So, the last thing I want to do is stay there and have them get to me and go like, okay, cool. I'm going to go hang out with Justin White now. I'm going to go hang out. Like, I'm going to go to Mark Bradley's thing. Like, I mean, I want to build this community. They're like family. And, and if I can't serve them well, I want them to go somewhere else. Right.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I think I'm just helping the version of myself that I used to be. So I can be really vulnerable.
Yeah.
In
No,
fact, in
I
fact, I was
go
gonna say
ahead.
when I got cancer, like I didn't tell anybody. I just shut things down. I was real low key about it. But when I got healthy, I still didn't talk about it. It's my personality. Like I don't need to
Hmm.
bore you with that stuff, right? But a lot of people helped me understand that showing that vulnerability in the fight and what I went through is very inspiring to people. Just like you saying your audacious goal, like I want to do 1 billion. I'm gonna die trying, or I'm gonna get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like having that audacious goal gives people the courage to even follow in that footsteps. And so I've been a little bit more vulnerable since then.
And I commend you for that because it's one of the things that I struggle with. It's like growing up, I don't know if you kind of got this, but I kind of felt like, I don't know if it was like something that was taught or I just picked it up from our community. I mean, I grew up in this like surf skate culture of Santa Cruz where, there's like, you get in a fight at the beach and you kind of got to be the, like you got to like eat or get eaten kind of mindset. And so you end up putting on this like bit of an armor on from an emotional perspective of like, you're tough, you're good, nothing's going to shake you. And you have to kind of go away from that mindset as you get older and start to learn and grow in business. You have to shed that and become a more vulnerable person. That's been a struggle for me because I've always been taught to like hide my weaknesses versus
Hmm.
exposing them.
Yeah.
But when we talk about, going through challenging times or looking back on situations that you're maybe not as proud of, you're negative, lower moments, that's, I think, where like the learning really happens within these
Mhm.
communities. And so I commend you for going there. I mean, was there a point that you just started to get more comfortable talking about your battle with cancer and going through that? Or was it like a slow process?
Um, I shared it with a couple of people that, when you meet someone who's had a loss of someone, well, no, there wasn't a loss. So, like, I met someone who knew my battle, and they have someone very close to them experiencing they're in the fight with cancer at that moment. They're like,
Wow.
we need hope. Like, can you battled it? You came out the other side. We need you. And so, can you talk to my husband? Can you talk to my daughter? Can you talk to these people and just give them a little bit of hope? If they see that you fought it and won it, then they believe that they can fight it too. And whether they, do it or die trying, it's giving them that hope. And so it
Yeah.
was a couple of moments like that I was like, okay, I want to help people, because I was in a dark spot, bro. And
Yeah.
if people would have, if I don't know if I would have taken that because of my personality, but it was helpful. It was helpful for me to help people.
Yeah. Well, it feels good to help other people. It feels good to give them hope.
Hmm.
Um, I love talking to kids who have kind of given up on life when they're like at age 19 or 20 because they dropped out of high school and they're involved in gangs or they got caught up and they got arrested and they did, 3 years in prison and they're 22 years old and they're just getting out. I'm like, dude, let me talk to you because I didn't do any like hard time or anything, but I dropped out of high school at 16. I don't have any diploma or any, accolades. I got my GED a little bit later, just out of necessity at one point. Um, but like there's a way to go through that dark point and come out the other side in multiple levels of life. My question to you on that though is like, how did you bounce back and decide to get back in the game in 2019 versus watching from the sidelines? I mean, you know, that must have been such, you had to create all this inertia and momentum and energy from zero, from stopped. That probably had to be extremely hard. I mean, what was the driving force behind that?
Great question. So, I've been married for 27 years, 28 this year. And so, you know, this happened.
That's big.
Yeah, thank you. So we were married for, my wife and I, like 20 years, right? You know, and I had, you know, everything was cool, you know, like life insurance, all that stuff's in place, right? And all of our liabilities were kind of managed. Everything's cool, right? But we were just about ready to go look for a ranch. We were going to buy a ranch. You know, we were going to move. We were living in a home where we were going to be buried in the backyard. It was her dream home as a little girl. You know, 4,000 square foot, 1888 Victorian house, 3 stories. Like, it's her dream house, right? And so there was a moment right before I got sick. She's like, I think we should go get a ranch. And I was like, let's fucking go, you know? Yeah. And so we do wildlife rehabilitation. So like I got raccoons and bobcats and opossums and like you name it. I got raptors and crows and birds and squirrels. Like, so it's really her passion, right? So when I got better, you're like watching from the sidelines. It's like, it was interesting because me evaluating me not being here anymore and what my wife would do. And I wanted to set her up with her dream of, you know, building out those animals, like taking care of those animals more. Right. And so when I got healthy, we got the ranch right before I thought everything was going to go down. Right. Wow. We got the ranch. She wanted to not get the ranch and just let me be at home in case things went really bad. Like I could die in the house that I said I was going to die in. Right. But I wasn't going to do that. I was like, let's get you to the new place. Let's go. And so when we got here and I got healthy, it was like, fuck, we got everything. Like we got this new life. Like, why am I going to sit on the sidelines, you know? And dude, I am passionate about ponds. Like I still go do pond inspections, you know, in a perfect world, I don't do them anymore. I'm just running $1 billion pond company that is audacious like you, but like, you know, I still love it. So like, it was easy for me to go like, I'll start doing inspections. I'll start designing. Maybe I'll sub out to some people. Maybe I'll hire a few guys. And so, you know, I'm looking out my back window right now at our ranch. We got a 5-acre ranch in Southern California. And when you say that to someone in Texas, they laugh at you, just so you know. Yeah. You know,
they go, ranch, California? I grew up with horses on a ranch in California. Yeah.
So, you know, but we're doing this new habitat for some wildlife stuff for spring. Like we get really busy with wild animals in spring. Yeah. We're just like a layover for them to get better and go back out into the nature, right? So like my guys, I'm watching them build this enclosure out back. It's fucking awesome. I'm living like my wife's dream and my dream at the same time.
That's awesome, man. Well, congratulations, because that is so hard to do. And your ability to rediscover your passion, not just for ponds, but for helping people as well. It's got to be extremely fulfilling for you today.
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
So, congratulations, man. Thanks. I mean, thanks for sharing that on the podcast. Appreciate you being open and honest. And I think it hopefully gives hope to people out there. I mean, whether you're just trying to start things off or you're on a company or on a team or running your own thing, I think
on a rebound.
Yeah. On the rebound, man.
Yeah.
Never give up. Keep pushing. Keep looking for that opportunity. So, well, hey man, I want to kind of wrap this thing up. It's been a great talk, great show. Really enjoyed having you on. One of the things I like to wrap up on is your trade secret, you know, and we've shared a lot honestly here, so it might be hard to dig deep, but what's something you'd like to share with our audience that, you know, you've learned through experience, you've learned through your trials and tribulations, something that they could take home and apply maybe in their life or their business?
Something really profound here is personality typing, and understanding your personality is probably the most profound trade secret I could share with anyone. Because, you know, you're like, oh, he's a pond guy. What can he teach me about my trade? But like, if you understand your personality, and there's the DISC profile, which you probably know already, the DISC profile, DISC. There's something called the Enneagram. And then the Enneagram, there's 3 triads, and then there's 9 personality types. And everyone fits into that one of those triads, right?
Okay.
And so, bro, I've been with my wife for 20 years at the time, and we took the test together, and I look at the test, and I'm like, oh, this is why you do what this is why you do that,
Yeah.
and I like, dude, like I've had sex with this woman, we've had kids, you know what I mean? Like this is my love
And
of
you're
my
still
life.
just learning about her.
And like when I understood the profile of who she is in her DNA, it was the most profound moment of my life, dude. And now I
Wow.
understand my employees different. I have employees that have been with me for 10 years, and I understand them better. They used to piss me off all the time about certain things. And now I like that anger is gone because I'm like, that's their DNA. They're not doing it to piss me off. It's just who they are. And I know who I am now. So it's like, it's incredibly profound. So if I'm on a consultation with someone, I'm trying to chip away at who they are and how they communicate. If
Yeah.
I'm on a podcast interview, I'm trying to chip away at who they might be. If I'm on an interview for a new person, if I'm at the grocery store and I'm talking to someone, I'm looking for clues of who they are because it helps us communicate differently. And I started with learning me, because while you can study DISC, the DISC profile,
Yeah.
it gives you an understanding of who you are and how you communicate. But the Enneagram teaches you how to like deal with your bullshit, and when you're in a bad mood, where you go, and to realize it when you're in a good mood, where you go. Like it's, dude, it's profound. And I do believe it's a secret weapon.
Totally agree. This whole thing around we use a tool called predictive index, and I think it's very, very similar to what you're
Mhm.
describing. There's a myriad of personalities, and each report provides us with what you're saying. Like, okay, how does this person like to make decisions? Do they like to make decisions on the fly? Do they like to make decisions after a night of thinking about it? Do they like to follow the rules or not follow the rules? Because frankly, some people like to be given an instruction manual, and others like to be given a picture of the final product.
Yep.
And so who are you? And you said something I think the most profound you said was, you need to understand yourself, because if you don't understand yourself, then you
Yes.
guys, like, we're never going to make progress on anyone else in our life. And that is ultimately like the cheat code here of getting ahead, is like, once you figure out yourself, then you can be of service. Then you can find this next level to helping others. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. So my wife used to tell me pretty regularly, she's like, you need to tone it down a little bit. You're intimidating people. You're
Yeah.
too intimidating. And I'm like, I'm not intimidating. I'm not intimidating. And no, I didn't intimidate them. I didn't. She's like, yes, you did. I'm like, okay, whatever. So dude, when I took the test and it said my personality type, and I'm starting to read it, it's like, you're like this. And I'm like, okay, you're like that. I'm like, yeah, definitely. You're like this. And it's just going down the list. The last bullet, the very last bullet says, you intimidate people even though you think you don't.
Oof.
That was the
Yep.
last bullet. And I was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. Like by me now, if I'm doing something, I'll be like, you're getting in that mode, Eric. You're going to start intimidate people. Just tone it down. Like I can control myself differently, or I can let it go if I want to. I'll be like, let it loose, bro. Intimidate the fuck out of this person. Right. Like it just depends on who I want to be. It's crazy.
Well, and once you do that, you start to find that there's this range you can operate in, and you can meet and by no means, I want people to understand, this is not being fake, right? We're not
No.
inauthentic with other people, but when you're a leader or you're a salesperson, you talked about sales coaching, and you can meet the other person where they're at while being authentic to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a martial arts skill. Like you're dancing and you're understanding and you're moving to that person's energy. And once you get that, then it's like, all right, well, yeah, we're you and I, for example, like probably people will listen to us talk, especially off camera, and they're like intimidated, right? Because we're like cussing and talking
Mm-hmm.
about mountain biking and all this crazy shit. But then when I get in a room with a client who's a very successful entrepreneur, but maybe in a different sector like tech, I've got to understand they have a different language, a different cadence that they work at,
Yeah.
and meet them at that cadence.
Well, one of the things about the Enneagram, because this just kind of talks how you function and communicate. the Enneagram teaches you how to know when you're in the good spot. So like
I like that.
I'm a challenger. I'm a number 8. Okay. So I'm a
Okay.
number 8 challenger. And so I'm a wing 7. It's kind of tricky because imagine 1 through 9. I'm an 8, but I have tendencies of a 7 and I have tendencies of a 9 because they're on my wings. 1 through 9. I have a little bit of 9 and a little bit of 7. I have a lot of 7. Okay. And so if I'm in a really good position in life, if I'm really healthy mentally, I want to help people.
Yeah.
And did I just demonstrate that on our whole conversation? I want to help contractors. I want to help things, right? And if I'm in a bad spot, I don't want to talk to you. Like if I'm not talking to you, I'm in a bad mood. Like, and I'm in a bad spot. I retract. I don't want to talk to people. I need to be alone. I need to go on a walk. I need to get away from you. And so I can identify those spots really quickly now and be like, hey, you're in the pocket right now. You're helping people.
Yeah, you're in the
like
pocket.
things are cool. Yeah. I'm just like right in the pocket. I know if I wake up and I want to help people and I'm trying to support people, I know I'm in my zone, dude. And so when you know who you are and who your wing is and where your good zone and your bad zone is, you have total control over things. It's amazing.
It's such an incredible place to get. And then you start to curate your life in that way where you're setting yourself up to be in the pocket. Like, for example, for me, I like to get up and get some activity going, working out, walking, just moving the body. And sometimes, people want to meet early. We're on the West Coast. Sometimes I find myself on a Zoom call at 6:30 a.m. and man, I'm just not in my zone. And that knocks me off for the whole day. So it's like, unless I absolutely have to, I try to protect that first, 2 hours of the day, which, is hard sometimes being in the landscape industry, but you've got to do it because the rest of the day is going to be so much better.
I think you're an 8, by the
Yeah.
way.
I think I might be. I would love to trade, I have the predictive index. I'd love for you to take that. You'd probably be, I'm a maverick. In that, I bet you're probably pretty similar to that, honestly, from what I've seen.
Yeah, send it to me. I'll send you mine. Yeah,
let's do it. Yeah,
I think you're a challenger. You're number 8. You're probably a wing 7 because you like to help people too. I'm just curious, if you got in a fight with your wife, do you not want to talk to her before you go to bed, or do you want to fix it before you go to bed?
I gotta fix it, dude. I can't go to bed.
Okay. Well, it's cool. So it's your wife. It's a little different. But sometimes if I'm upset, I don't want to talk to you right now. I need to cool down.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But my wife's a 9, which is a peacemaker. So her feelings get hurt really easy. And so if I come in too hot, it ruins things. So I'm just like, you need to pull back. So, I mean, if your wife's a challenger as well, then like, hey, we can sort it out.
Yeah.
Like you can, have that confrontation without it falling apart, and like we fix it and go to bed and everything's cool. So it really depends on people.
That's interesting. Yeah. It depends on the other person, right? It's like, where do you meet that other person?
Yeah.
The predictive index gives you what's called a 1-to-1 personality guide. So you can run yourself and another person through the system, boom, and it'll give you basically, it's like, here are what to look out for. Like Justin may talk over this person and not listen to their thoughts or opinions. And then it's like, so-and-so may agree early, but not actually agree. They just agree because they don't want to fight, maybe a peacemaker.
Yeah.
And so when I meet with certain people, I have to remember, like, I need to ask more questions than I give answers.
Okay. Can I close this out?
Yeah. Go ahead. You got something more you want to,
I got a question for you. I got a question for you. I want to know, if there's something like that you knew. Okay. How do I want to phrase this question?
Yeah.
Is there something you're doing in business that you had no idea that you would have to deal with that problem that might have kept you from doing the business? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Is there something that you're doing that maybe you're handling fine, but if you knew you had to handle this, would it have held you back from pursuing this audacious goal?
Yeah. So great question. Okay, here it is. So the thing that I didn't realize is the fact that no matter how clear you make it and how amazing you create an environment for success, there are just some people who are not going to agree with your vision. And I love disagreement and debate and argument, but at some point we have to come together as a team and align around where we're taking the company. And there's certain people who just, I've found, will never come to that alignment at some point. It's like sometimes they're on board and then the company changes and now they're not on board. So you have to eventually exit these individuals from your organization. And that I did not expect was going to be so gray and blurry and a hard decision. When you ultimately have to fire someone who is in more of a management leadership position that you consider a friend, or maybe they're a family member, those decisions are so incredibly hard and so incredibly emotional. And yet, no matter how much you don't want to make it, because you just want to make it easy on yourself and say, I'm just going to keep this person around because them leaving is so hard on me. I got to now do their job and I got to tell them they're not good enough and all this. I don't know, man. I don't know if I would have went at the pace, the scale, and the change that we have gone on over the last 10 years had I known how many people we were going to have to exit from the company after becoming such close friends and so closely aligned around a vision that whether we changed, the industry changed, or they changed, at one point we all agreed that we were going to do this thing, and now we don't agree. And I always thought it was going to be easy. Like, I have a plan. Here's the plan. Here's how you fit into it. What don't you get? Why don't you understand this? Why don't you lock in?
Yeah.
But
Lock
it's
in.
not that black and white. Like, there's so
Yeah.
much more going on in their life. And honestly, like, who am I to say that I have the right plan? Like, maybe my plan is wrong. But at the end of the day, as CEO, you have to have that self-confidence. And this is why most CEOs fail, I believe, is they try to make too many people happy and they don't have that just ability to say, you know what, I'm the CEO and I love and care about you guys and I've listened to everybody in the room and everybody in the company. And this is the direction we're going to go in. This is the vision. End of story, period. That is the vision, period.
Uh-huh.
And I think a lot of CEOs want to make everyone happy. So they end up with this vision that is a little bit blurry because they kind of want to make it work for everybody. I mean, that's the hardest thing. So it's a bit of a ramble here, but I'll come back to it. Like, it's letting people go as you scale and you outgrow those people when they don't want to keep growing with you.
Yeah. That's a great one. I love it. I appreciate that.
How about yourself, man? Like, you growing from going from 0 up to where you're at, crossing that 1 million and headed to 3. I mean, you know, is there something that you're doing day in and day out that you had no expectation of that you were going to be doing, or is it pretty in line?
Yeah, like it's psychology. I mean, and that's why I think it's such a secret weapon for me now. And maybe it's just my personality type, but like, I mean, when you have crew members that all of a sudden are suicidal because something happens in their life, and then suddenly they lose their mom and they come to you because you're the leader, you're the one that calls the shots, and they're looking to you for some kind of support mentally. Like, mental health in the construction industry is pretty rough, dude. I mean, I did stats and they're pretty rough. They're pretty high suicide rate. And so, and I'm not just talking suicide, but like helping people through their breakup. Like one of my guys, they just had a miscarriage, him and his girl, and they were fucking devastated. And then they're coming to me. Like, I got goosebumps telling you this because they're like, I need a mental health day. I don't know what to do. And I'm like, bro, take some time off. And when he was ready to come back, he's like, I'm going to come back because he wants to make money. And I'm like, hey, I got something I need to get done in Phoenix. Will you just, can your girl, what day can she get off? And then I'm just going to send the two of you to Vegas. I'll get you a nice room, hotel and everything. I just need you to go make an appearance somewhere. It's going to take you an hour and you'll get 2 days alone with you and your girl in a hotel room. And let's get you guys head straight. And like, they're crying, bro. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But like that moment, I'm in my pocket as a challenger, helping people. And like, had I known that I had to deal with that psychological mess for 15 people and their spouses and family and kids, like, I don't know that I would have fucking pressed go, dude. I just don't know if I would have done it. I'm grateful now because I like who I've become. I like what I'm doing. I like helping, but I probably wouldn't have done it had I known.
It's a massive burden. And as you scale, what I've noticed the hardest thing is you still have those more or less 15 people, but now there's another 150 below, quote unquote, in the org chart, below those 15 people, that you now have to train your 15 people to be that person that you used to be. And now you have like multi levels of this stuff where you have people going through the gnarliest shit, immigration, kids and divorce and financial troubles. And those problems typically don't bubble up to the CEO at 20 million, but they bubble up to the leader that you lead often. So now you're kind of like, okay, how do I coach these people? Because they didn't sign up for that when they signed up to come work as a project manager.
Yeah,
right?
They might not have pushed no. They might have said no.
No way.
Yeah.
So
dude, that's what's crazy about the blind spots. Maybe those blind spots are there for a reason, because, I look up to a lot of people in the industry you have this audacious goal. And if you would have seen those blind spots, you maybe wouldn't have done it. And somehow those blind spots were kept from you just long enough for you to become the man that you are, and that you are now, leading the pack. And so sometimes blind spots are a blessing, and sometimes they're a curse.
You know what? That's a great place to end it. Great talk today, Eric. Hey, for those listening, you guys go follow Eric. You can find him, Eric Triplett, the Pond Digger Podcast. Find him on LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. He's got a great YouTube page. Now, this is launching. I mean, we're like at the very end of the year. Are you continuing? I heard some rumbles about your podcast. Where's that at right now?
It's tricky because, it's kind of like a project for me when I did this. So the last episode of the Pond Digger Podcast is just shortly after this one comes out. So the last episode is going to be on December 31st, December 31st, 2025. It's going to be my last Pond Digger episode. So I got some other things in the pipeline. I got, bigger visions that I got to, jump into, and people will still hear my voice. I still have a lot of people I want to help, but that'll be the final episode this year.
All right, guys. We'll get on that, Pond Digger, listen to some episodes. And like you said, final episode's coming out in about a week. Give Eric a follow so you stay up to date with what he's doing next. I know he's got some big things planned. And Eric, is there any other way that you recommend people reaching out if they want to chat or potentially check out your community as well?
Yeah, Instagram's probably a really good way to. I follow the DMs pretty closely there daily currently at the time, at the Pond Digger on Instagram. And then, on Facebook, it's TWT Contractor Circle. That's my little Facebook group. Training with Triplett, TWT Contractor Circle. Thanks for your time, Jeff. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll bump into you tomorrow in LA.
All right, brother. See you at the Futurescapes. Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in to Trades Talk, where the next generation of disruptors comes to raise the bar. If you got value from today's episode, share it with someone in the trades who's ready to level up. For more tools, insights, and community, follow host Justin White and join the movement at jwhitegroup.com.